Hi, I'm Mike. Thanks for watching. I want to tell you about a trip that I took back in 1991. I had bicycled across the United States from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. It was a fantastic trip, about 3,600 miles. And back then, we didn't have any cameras or cell phones or GPS. Um, and It was just a fantastic trip. I have lots of pictures, which I put in a video format. Um, and, I wish I had videos back then, but we just didn't have the technology. So I just want to share this video. I'll be talking about the different states that I biked through. And it was just a fantastic time. Met a lot of great people. And I'm going to share that with you. And I hope you enjoy watching it. Thank you. So, in the summer of 1991, I decided to bicycle across the country from San Francisco to Washington, D.C., about 3,600 miles. And we traveled through so many great states. As you can see, there's some pictures there of stops and areas that we visited along the way. All three major mountain ranges: Rockies, Sierra Nevadas, and Appalachians. There's me. I am 28 in that picture with my Dave Scott bike. Great steel frame bike, Shimano 105s on it. And in the late 80s, there's a friend of mine, Chris, and we decided to get back into cycling. We did a lot of races, duathlons, biathlons, etc. And I decided that I want to go across the country. And so I flew out to San Francisco in June. I was in grad school at the time, so I had the time to do it. And we averaged about 70 miles a day for 2 months. Um, Saw some tourist spots along the way there in San Francisco and all throughout the country, actually. And so we started in California, going across the Golden Gate Bridge. There's going through the biking through the Presidio out to the bridge. And it's great to check out Google Maps today because you can really see what the places look like now. There's a picture today of what the area looks like to get to the bridge. And biking across the bridge is pretty frightening because the water's like 300 feet down. But it was really great experience to go across the bridge. You had a bike actually around the towers to the right on the Oakland side. Um, but that's us getting ready. Some press there for local press. So there's our group. There's me on the left in the back with the green jacket, my Bean waterproof jacket. And we took off across the bridge, ended up in Vallejo. And then here's all the stops that we made along the way, mostly going through the flatland before we hit the Sierra Nevadas at about day 4. And a lot of farmland during these rides in the first few days. There's Vanessa and I. We'd come upon a professional cycling race, and we just snuck a picture in there. And we got the opportunity to stay at a farm for lunch, and we camped out a lot, stayed in gyms. There were really no hotels involved. This was all, we stayed in school gyms, things like that. And we stayed pretty much as a group together the first week or so because we're new to knowing each other as cyclists. And we had stayed at this farm, for example, for lunch one day. And we had a SAG van. So the SAG van would go around and provide us lunch as the days went on, safety and gear van. And there's us just, goofing off. We went for a swim in a lake. We learned not to take lunch at the halfway point. You do an 80-mile day, you don't want to take lunch at 40 miles because the 40 miles left is pretty tough. This is actually a real race, the Death Ride. It's a tour in California, and it was a tremendous amount of cycling and up and down hills. It's really crazy. So there's me. We're going up the Sierra Nevadas now. We climbed about 6,000 feet in 6 hours. It was pretty brutal getting to the top, and it was pretty cold that day when we got up to the top of the mountain up by Yuba Pass. Got down actually into the 30s that night. And so there's Vanessa. We got the bonks, which are you just out of steam. I mean, you're just exhausted going up. And actually, the next day after Yuba Pass, I mean, your legs just feel like concrete. So we camped out at Yuba Pass that night. This is the early 90s, so the styles are a little old. But it's the Rocky Mountains, sorry, the Sierra Nevada mountains are really a beautiful area. So there I am at Yuba Pass, 6,700 feet. And this is the border between California and Nevada. So the California side, that's what it looks like today. California side is all like Ponderosa, the big valley. It's got lots of pine trees. Then when you get over into Nevada, you're in the high desert, totally different terrain. So there's our trip from the Nevada border to the Utah border, and this is all on Interstate 80. So we bicycled on the highway the entire way, but we had to stop at Donna's Diner. Thought that was pretty funny because the S in Donna got cut off. Had to get a good home cooked meal. Really, really good food there. And there's me and the King. Had to take a picture with Elvis after we ate. Sadly, though, this diner is closed. I think it closed a good 10 or 12 years ago. And I did look it up on Google Maps, so it's gone now. Pretty sad. But these small towns are great, biking through Lovelock, Winnemucca, all the way across the high desert and our way to the Utah border. Really, just great terrain out there. We had a lot of nice weather. Didn't really rain that much. Not too much wind, although. And then we stayed at here. You can see a picture. We stayed at some local YMCA's, and also some people, let us sleep in their yards at night, which was pretty cool. And you can see the brush. This is in the summer, so everything's pretty much burned out, but no real shade out there. I mean, you're really in open country, so you really got to stay hydrated. There I am on the side of the road. Um, of course, this is before GPS, so there's no cell phones. You wrote down on a piece of paper, hey, it's 85 miles to the next city, and you just stay together in a pack because, safety in numbers. I always wore stuff that was pretty much high visibility as much as I could back in the day, the jerseys from Performance. So I took a picture of Danny cycling there, and I said, hey, Danny, take a picture of me. And he took a picture of me, and it came out just a little bit different. Um, Not as, shall we say, oh, there I am. Yeah. Well, he got the picture of me, but that's us in open country in Nevada, just cycling along. Um, you get a great suntan out there, but kind of the trucker's suntan. So Nevada is not as flat as you think. A lot of uphill climbing, a lot of downhills, and being on I-80 the entire way. The state police allowed us to do that. You're up pretty high, 6,000 feet, as you can see, and it got windy. So when you saw trucks come along, you definitely got down to the embankment and away from the road because the trucks would just, the amount of wind that they would bring with them. I actually had a mirror blown off my bike on my handlebars. But as you can see, it's just you doing dozens and dozens and dozens of miles, all the way out to Wendover, which we're pretty close to now in this picture, and we're coming up on the Great Salt Lake Desert on our way from Wendover to Salt Lake City. And there is the Great Salt Lake Desert. Kind of felt like an alien planet. And there's really no shade. At that time, there was only one overpass at 50 miles. Um, the film quality wasn't that great back then, so some of the pictures aren't all that fantastic. But yeah, there's only one overpass, so you were in open terrain. Even though we froze our water bottles, we got up at dawn to go out. Your water bottles were pretty much, the water was hot by the time you got an hour or two into the ride, but the SAG van would come around. So there we go. We're going from Wendover to Salt Lake City all the way out um, into the Rocky Mountains after Salt Lake. Um, a lot of altitude gain. That's at a rest stop on the Great Salt Lake Desert. I just wanted to eat my junk food and drink a lot of water. Um, and there's the Horizon Point. A lot of racing goes on out there. And it was really bizarre coming from New England, seeing the Horizon Point like that. But as you can see, there's trucks out there. But we also had a lot of fun. We played a lot of basketball at night uh, and rode the rodeo horse, artificial one there, and just goofed off at night and had a good time. We would go out to local places and enjoy music. As you can see, I'm pretty tired. And just enjoy ourselves as we went across the country. Um, this is in Salt Lake City, one of the universities there. We stayed in the campus ministry office. We had a couple of days off. We did a lot of volunteer work on our days off. So this was a big break. The partial eclipse was coming up. So we thought that was pretty cool. There's Andy and Dana and Rachel. And, we just uh, enjoyed the local flavor of wherever we went. Here's the sign welcoming you to Colorado. That sign is still there today. I found a Google map picture of it, and there it is, still there as you go into Colorado. It's interesting seeing the different signs for different states as you went along. So, so we're up in some pretty high terrain. Here's us going all the way through the Rocky Mountains, ending up in Denver eventually, and then heading out into the Great Plains. So we actually did at least one century ride. This is an interesting city dinosaur. So I thought it was funny taking a picture. That building is still there today. I looked it up on Google Map once again, and now it's a dispensary. I think it was someone's home at the time. But pretty interesting town. It's got all the names of the streets are after dinosaurs. Um, and so, you got to put a big T-Rex there. There's me jumping on the leg of the T-Rex, just being goofy. And so now we're heading up. We're going to getting into the Rocky Mountains. Here we go. More dinosaur stuff. At the time, you think it's pretty fun to take a picture of a dinosaur thing, but um, and there's the pink dinosaur. Actually a Wikipedia link to that. Um, you can look that up if you want. It's actually on the National Register of Historic Places. So this is cool. So we met ranchers out there. Great people. They took us into their ranch. We had steak dinners. We went in that cattle carrier for like 20 miles. Felt like being on an alien planet rather. And we stayed there overnight. Really great people out in the west, very friendly. And this is Steamboat Springs. You have to be out there. If you've never been out to the Rocky Mountains, I really suggest it. It's just a beautiful landscape, beautiful mountains and lakes out there. Swimming in the lakes. We stayed at a gym one night, HealthWorks. Welcome Bike Aid Riders. Once again, played a lot of basketball all night. Just slept on the gym floor. And we did a lot of that. So here we are. We're heading up to the highest point in the trip. So we're trying to get to Cameron Pass. But we did go through a lot of watershed areas. Um, and actually, it was pretty tough biking through the Rockies. Not that it was steep, but the grade was actually kind of difficult in that you couldn't get out of the saddle. And when you did, you were going too fast. So we went through a lot of passes. Continental Divide, here's Rabbit Ears Pass, 9426 feet. We also went through Muddy Pass. I did look up this place, trying to see if I could find the sign again. But after 30 plus years, the sign's gone. They must have moved it somewhere else. And as you can see, no more sign, but that's okay. Beautiful birch trees there. So we're on local highway 40, heading to Cameron Pass. This is the highest point in the trip, over 10,000 feet. And then we biked downhill from here all the way out of the Rockies down into Boulder and then eventually to Denver. And there's the sign today as it looks, Cameron Pass, Roosevelt National Forest. I actually went back there this summer to Roosevelt National Forest. Just beautiful terrain. We did get to see the eclipse. There's our SAG van. Lauren there and Danny are trying to check out the partial eclipse. Um, Took time out. We went swimming in another river over there. We got caught in a hailstorm one day, and it was just we were hurting so bad we were laughing. That it was crazy. Just got caught in hail, nowhere to run, and that was before we came into Denver. So here's Denver. And Denver actually, it's an island city. I mean, it's in the middle of, once you leave Denver, you're in the Great Plains. It's at the base of the Rockies. Had a stop at the Morgul Bismarck shop if you're a Davis Finney fan. And cycling back then, I didn't get to meet him. He wasn't there, but I had to stop by the shop. And before we left Denver, we stayed at a Buddhist temple, which is still there today. Very, very friendly people there. Very fortunate to stay there. And I think the building was going to go through some renovation. There's the picture that I took of it before we went out to the Great Plains. Um, I do believe it may still be there. I know they were trying to get some renovation done. The building was quite old, 40 plus years. There's downtown Denver before we left. Last major city we're going to see for a long time as we head across the Great Plains. We're leaving the mountain time zone, so we're going to eventually enter into Kansas. So we're biking across the Great Plains, and we won't see. This is technically, there's the Kansas sign. Great sign, probably the best sign we saw the whole trip. We're just hanging from it, having some fun. So I did look this up to see if the sign is still there, and sadly, they put this sign up. Not the same thing, but anyway. But we biked across Kansas, and you think that all of Kansas is flat. It really isn't. There's lots of uphills and downhills. So we went across the northern part, St. Francis, Norton, Smith Center, all the way out to Kansas City. And that was just a fantastic trip. So many great people out there, friendly people. When you see a combine coming down the road, you definitely want to get out of the way. Um, so we did about sometimes 90, 105 miles or over 100 miles in a day. There's me fueling up. One day we were going to go to Nebraska, but I said I can see Nebraska from my bike, so nothing against the Cornhuskers. I just didn't want to do a 130-mile day. We saw some touristy things. This is an old Dutch mill we saw as we went out in the morning. We thought that was really great, a lot of fun. And it's just, this is the largest ball of twine in the world, if it's still there, actually. And they had some sayings on there, inspirational sayings. Let's see, fortitude, etc. That there it is today, still there. You can go see it. It is in Kansas. Check that out. So a lot of interesting things along the way. We stayed at a lot of churches. Very, very friendly, open people there. This is an old card, so of course this is before the internet. And a lot of home cooked meals. Church groups would make for us. A lot of hot temperatures. We probably averaged in the high 90s, almost 100 degrees on a lot of days. A lot of wind too. And as you can see by the road there, there's not a lot of, you're really hugging the white line there. So you really have to be aware of what's around you and who's around you. But people are friendly. They'll move aside for you. Slim's Place. Actually met Slim. He's got a sign on there, hamburgers and ammunition. I did try and find this place, but I couldn't. I'm not sure if it's still there. And then we're going to finish up the first part of this. This is in eastern Kansas. And I looked up this intersection, and actually what they did was they made an overpass so that it's a little bit safer. So this is the first half of the trip. This is, like I said, from San Francisco to DC, but I'm breaking this up in two parts. So this is San Francisco to Kansas City. So two Kansas cities, Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas. And the next video I make will be the trip from Kansas City to Washington, D.C. So that'll be the second part. But I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.